Hello dear students, in today's class we are going to discuss about Bohr's atomic model. Okay, in previous classes we discussed about J.J. Thomson atomic model and also Rutherford atomic model. So according to J.J. Thomson, the total number of positive charges present in the atom, they are uniformly distributed throughout the atom and the electrons are embedded in it. Embedded means here fixed. So first we are going to discuss J.J. Thomson atomic model. J.J. Thomson atomic model. Then according to J.J. Thomson, the total number of positive charges present in an atom, they are uniformly distributed throughout the atom. Uniformly distributed throughout the atom. See here. Uniformly distributed throughout the atom. And the electrons are fixed in it. This is according to J.J. Thomson. Just like seeds in the watermelon. These are the electrons. Okay. Then this model is also known as plum pudding model or watermelon model. Plum pudding model. Plum pudding model or watermelon model. Then Rutherford explained that the total number of positive charges present in an atom, they are concentrated at the center of the atom by the experiment. That experiment is nothing but alpha scattering experiment. Now we are going to discuss Rutherford atomic model. Rutherford atomic model. According to Rutherford, the total number of positive charges present in an atom, they are concentrated at the center of the atom. See here, this is the Rutherford atomic model. The total number of positive charges means the entire positive charge of an atom is concentrated at the center of the atom. Okay. And according to Rutherford, the charge on the nucleus is given by, that is plus Jd. And this model couldn't explain the stability of an atom. Which model? Rutherford atomic model couldn't explain the stability of an atom. Okay. And it successfully explained the large angle scattering of alpha particles. Then next, Niels Bohr modified the Rutherford atomic model. Niels Bohr ಏನು ಮಾಡಿದ ಅಂದರೆ Rutherford atomic model ಅನ್ನು modify ಮಾಡಿದ ಅಂದರೆ change ಮಾಡಿದ. What is that modification? See. So according to Rutherford, the entire positive charge of an atom concentrated at its center. But so as an electron revolves around the nucleus, that radiates the energy in the form of electromagnetic radiation, means there is a loss in energy of an electron and it makes the spiral path and fall into the nucleus. That means an atom cannot be stable. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು atom stable ಆಗಿ ಉಳಿಯಲ್ಲ. ಯಾವಾಗ electron ಬಂದು nucleus ಬೀಳುತ್ತೆ ನೋಡ್ರಿ, atom ಅವಾಗ stable ಆಗಿ ಉಳಿಯಲ್ಲ. Okay. So next, the modification of Rutherford atomic model given by Niels Bohr. Bohr proposed atomic model for the hydrogen atom. For the hydrogen atom and hydrogen-like atoms. And hydrogen-like atoms. So what are the examples for hydrogen-like atoms? Singly ionized helium, doubly ionized lithium. Okay, so hydrogen-like atoms. What are those? Singly ionized helium, He+. Singly ionized means here in hydrogen atom there is a one proton and one electron. Okay, but in case of helium atom there are two protons and two electrons. We have to remove the one electron. If one electron is removed, there is only one electron present in the helium, then the helium behaves like a hydrogen atom. That is why it is called hydrogen-like atom. Singly ionized helium is called hydrogen-like atom. And one more, doubly ionized lithium. Doubly ionized lithium. It is also the example for the hydrogen-like atom, because in case of lithium there are 3 electrons and there are 3 protons. Lithium ಒಳಗಡೆ 3 electrons ಇರ್ತಾವೆ, 3 protons ಇರ್ತಾವೆ. If we are going to remove the 2 electrons, then lithium is said to be doubly ionized. Means there is only one electron present in the lithium, then the lithium behaves like a hydrogen atom. That is why the doubly ionized lithium is also called hydrogen-like atoms. Okay, so there are so many examples for the hydrogen-like atoms. Then what are the postulates of Bohr's atomic model? Postulates means here assumptions. Okay, postulates. Postulates of Bohr atomic model. Bohr's atomic model. By using the Bohr's atomic model, we are going to derive the expression for the radius of the orbit of an electron and the velocity of an electron in the given orbit, and also the energy of an electron in the given orbit by using the Bohr's atomic model. Okay. Then what is the first postulate of the Bohr's atomic model? First one. Electrons revolve around the positively charged nucleus. Positively charged nucleus in certain stable orbits. Those orbits are called stationary orbits. Stationary orbits. See here. The electrons revolve around the nucleus. The electrons revolve around the positively charged nucleus in the certain stable orbits. Means in these orbits, those electrons do not radiate energy in the form of electromagnetic radiation. Means there is no loss in energy of the electron in that orbit. Which orbit? Stable orbit. Those stable orbits are called stationary orbits. Okay. The force of attraction between the electron and the nucleus that provides the centripetal force, that is called Coulomb force. The force of attraction between the electron and the nucleus, that is called Coulomb force. That Coulomb force provides the centripetal force. Force of attraction between electron and nucleus. Because there is an attractive force between the electron and nucleus, because the electron is a negatively charged particle and the nucleus is positively charged particle. Okay. Force of attraction between the electron and nucleus provides centripetal force. So whenever an electron is revolving around the nucleus, there is a force towards the center due to the force of attraction. That force is called centripetal force, and this centripetal force is provided by the force of attraction between the electron and nucleus. And this force of attraction between the electron and nucleus is called Coulomb force. Okay, this is about first postulate. Then what about second postulate? See here. The centripetal force is provided by which force? That is a Coulomb force. means electrostatic force. Fc is equal to the P. Fc means here centripetal force and Fe is nothing but electrostatic force, and that is also called Coulomb force. Already you know that what is the expression for the centripetal force? M V square divided by R. That is equal to, what do you mean by Fe here? Fe is nothing but electrostatic force. It is the force of attraction between the nucleus and an electron. See here. This is the nucleus of the hydrogen atom. This is the nucleus of the hydrogen atom. I will take it is plus Ze or hydrogen like atom, and an electron revolving around this nucleus, because in the hydrogen and hydrogen like atoms there is one electron, because in case of helium, two electrons are there, one electron is removed, means only one electron present in the helium. Then the singly ionized helium is called the hydrogen like atom, and this is an electron. This electron is revolving around the nucleus because of force of attraction between the electron and nucleus. Then there is a force towards the center. That force is called centripetal force, and this centripetal force is provided by electrostatic force, means the force of attraction between the electron and nucleus. Then the charge on the nucleus is plus Ze, charge on the electron is minus E. Then already we know that what is the expression for the Coulomb force? 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 into Q2 divided by R square. Here Q1 is nothing but the charge on the nucleus, Q2 is nothing but the charge on the electron. Charge on the nucleus is Ze, charge on the electron is E, divided by the distance between the electron and the nucleus, that is R. And here this electron is revolving in the stable orbit. ಯಾವ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ನೇ revolve ಆಗುತ್ತದೆ? Stable orbit. In this orbit, this electron does not radiate any energy in the form of electromagnetic radiation according to Niels Bohr. Okay. Then the distance of the electron from the nucleus, that is R, that is nothing but the radius of the orbit. Then this is R square. Okay. Then we will write mv square divided by R is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Ze square divided by R square, because E into E, that is E square, Ze square divided by R square. So you have to know the terms here. What is M? M is nothing but mass of the electron. What is V? V is nothing but velocity of the electron. And R? R is the nothing but the radius of the orbit in which the electron is revolving. And Z? Z is nothing but it is the atomic number of the nucleus. Okay, means atomic number of the atom. Then what is E? E is nothing but the charge on the each proton and the charge on the electron. Okay, divided by R square. R square is nothing but again it is a radius of the orbit of the electron, orbit in which the electron is revolving. Then one R get cancelled. Then mv square is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Ze square divided by R. Okay, so this is about first postulate of the Bohr's atomic model. Then what is second postulate? Second one, the angular momentum of revolving electron in the stationary orbit. So once again listen here, what do you mean by stationary orbit? In this orbit the electron does not radiate energy in the form of electromagnetic radiation. The angular momentum of revolving electron in the stationary orbit is equal to the integral multiple of h by 2 pi. See here. So what is the second postulate here? the angular momentum of revolving electron in the stationary orbit is equal to the integral multiple of h by 2 pi. Means the angular momentum of the revolving electron is quantized. Quantized means it is a discrete. Discrete ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನ್ರಿ? So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ನ angular momentum h by 2 pi ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ನಾಗ 2h by 2 pi ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಥರ್ಡ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ನಾಗ 3h by 2 pi ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ the angular momentum is different in different orbits. Means the angular momentum of the revolving electron is discrete here. Okay, that is why this second postulate is also called Bohr's quantization rule. Then this angular momentum can be written as that is integral multiple of h by 2 pi. Integral multiple means here it is the integer. Okay, so now L is equal to n into h divided by 2 pi. Okay, what is n here? N is nothing but principal quantum number, where n is 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on, and is the principal quantum number. If n is 1, then it is the principal quantum number of first orbit. If n is 2, it is the principal quantum number of second orbit. If n is 3, the principal quantum number of third orbit, and so on. Okay, so is the principal quantum number. So if we are going to put the n as 1, then we are going to determine the angular momentum of the revolving electron in the first orbit. If we are going to put the n is equal to 2, then we are going to find the angular momentum of the revolving electron in the second orbit. If we are going to put n is equal to 3, then we are going to find the angular momentum of revolving electron in the third orbit, and so on. Okay, so already you know that what is the expression for the angular momentum, that is m into v into r is equal to n into h divided by 2 pi. So angular momentum can be written as that is m into v into r. So let us consider this is the hydrogen atom and it is the hydrogen nucleus and an electron revolving around the nucleus in the stationary orbit. In this orbit, this electron does not radiate energy in the form of electromagnetic radiation. Means there is no loss in energy of this electron, and this electron having the mass and this electron revolving with the velocity, and also this electron is revolving in the orbit of the radius r. Then m into v into r, that gives the angular momentum of the revolving electron, that is m into v into r, that is equal to n into h divided by 2 pi, and the angular momentum of the revolving electron is quantized. Okay, revolving electron the angular momentum ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ quantized ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, because in the first orbit it is h by 2 pi, in the second orbit it is 2h by 2 pi, in the third orbit it is 3h by 2 pi, and in the fourth orbit it is 4h by 2 pi. Means the angular momentum is quantized. Okay, next, what is the third postulate? Already you know that what is the value of Planck's constant, that is 6.63 into 10 to the power of minus 34 joule second. Okay, then what about third postulate? The energy associated with an electron in the given orbit, that is stationary orbit. Okay, that energy is due to the kinetic energy of the electron due to its orbital motion, and the potential energy of the electron due to the force of attraction between the nucleus and electron. Then third one, energy of an electron revolving in stationary orbit. So here the stationary orbits are nothing but stable orbits, and also stationary orbits are called allowed orbits. Stationary orbits ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಹೆಸರು ಏನಂದ್ರೆ allowed orbits. Okay, energy of an electron revolving in the stationary orbit is due to is due to the kinetic energy is due to the kinetic energy of the electron, and here the kinetic energy is due to the orbital motion of the electron, is due to kinetic energy of the electron, and the potential energy of the electron. Here the potential energy of the electron is due to the force of attraction between the electron and nucleus, and the potential energy of the electron. Potential energy of the electron. Then, so the energy of the orbit is equal to the total energy of the electron in that orbit. ಒಂದು ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ನಾವು ಹೆಂಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಆ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ಟೋಟಲ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಮ್ಯಾಗ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಸಿಯರ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್. ಸೊ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ದಿ ಟೋಟಲ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್. Then energy of the second orbit. That means the total energy of the electron in the second orbit. Then energy of the third orbit. The energy of the revolving electron means the total energy of the revolving electron in the third orbit. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಆ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಎದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಆ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ನ ರಿವಾಲ್ವ್ ಆಗುವಂತ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ಟೋಟಲ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಮೇಲೆ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, then it is the first orbit. Then it is the energy associated with the first orbit, that is E1. That E1 is nothing but the total energy of the electron in the first orbit. Then energy associated with second orbit, that is E2. Okay, so this is about the third postulate. Then what about fourth postulate? Okay, so the energy is radiated or the energy is absorbed. So when the energy is radiated or when the energy is absorbed. If the energy is radiated when an electron jumps from higher orbit to lower orbit. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ ಒಂದು ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ರೀ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ನಾಗ ಐತ್ರಿ, ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ಲಿಂದ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ಗೆ ಜಂಪ್ ಆಯ್ತು ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಡ್ರಿ. ಸೊ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ electromagnetic radiation is emitted in the form of energy. Okay, means here the energy is radiated, means energy is produced in the form of electromagnetic radiation, that is E is equal to H into nu. So it is the energy of the emitted electromagnetic radiation, that is E equal to H into nu. Nu is nothing but it is the frequency of emitted radiation, and this energy of emitted radiation is equal to E2 minus E1. ಎದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ ಅದು E2 minus E1. ಈಗೇನು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ಲಿಂದ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ಗೆ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ಜಂಪ್ ಆಗ್ಯದ ನೋಡ್ರಿ, ಅವಾಗ ರೇಡಿಯೇಷನ್ ಎಮಿಟ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಆ ಎಮಿಟ್ ಆದಂತ ರೇಡಿಯೇಷನ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ E2 minus E1 ಗೆ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. That is E2 minus E1. That is equal to H into nu. Suppose an electron jumps from third orbit to first orbit. Then what is the energy of the emitted radiation? That is E3 minus E1. E3 minus E1, because the transition takes place from third orbit to first orbit. E3 minus E1 is equal to H into nu. Okay, then and when the energy is absorbed. Okay, so when an electron absorbs the energy, that electron jumps to the higher orbit. ಈ ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ನ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ಐತಲ್ರಿ, ಈ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ಒಂದು ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿವಿ ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಡ್ರಿ, ಇದು ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಹೈಯರ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ಗೆ ಜಂಪ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ that energy, the energy given to the electron in this orbit, that is equal to E2 minus of E1. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಡ್ರಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ಜಂಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕ್ರಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ಲಿಂದ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ಗೆ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ಜಂಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕ್ರಿ ನಾವು? ಅವು ಎರಡು ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ಸ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ತಗೋಬೇಕು, ಅಷ್ಟು ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು. ಓಕೆ, ಸಿ suppose when this electron gains the energy, how much energy? That is equal to E2 minus of E1, and this electron jumps to the jumps from first orbit to second orbit. See here, this is energy given to the electron in the first orbit. That energy is equal to E2 minus of E1. Then this electron jumps from first orbit to second orbit. If the energy given to this electron in the first orbit, that is equal to E3 minus of E1, that electron jumps to the third orbit from the first orbit. Okay, so what about fourth postulate? Then fourth postulate, what is the fourth postulate? Energy is radiated energy is radiated or absorbed when an electron jumps from one stationary orbit to another stationary orbit. One stationary orbit to another stationary orbit. So what it's mean? Stationary orbit. See here. So when an electron jumps from higher orbit to lower orbit, higher stationary orbit to lower stationary orbit, here the energy is radiated in the form of electromagnetic radiation. When an electron jumps from, so let us consider this is the nucleus of the hydrogen atom and it is first orbit and it is the second orbit. Then when an electron jumps from higher orbit to lower orbit, means higher stationary orbit to lower stationary orbit. So here the energy is radiated, means energy is produced in the form of electromagnetic radiation. Here the energy is radiated. Energy is radiated in the form of electromagnetic radiation, and that energy of that electromagnetic radiation is equal to the energy difference in these two orbits. The energy difference in these two orbits. Here the energy radiated is equal to then the energy of the second orbit and it is the energy of the first orbit. Then how can we say the energy of the orbit here? The energy of the orbit that depends on the total energy of the electron in that orbit. Then the energy radiated is equal to E2 minus of E1. E2 minus of E1. Then E is nothing but here it is the energy of the emitted electromagnetic radiation that can be written as H into nu. Then H into nu is equal to E2 minus of E1. Okay. So this is in case of energy is radiated when an electron jumps from higher stationary orbit to lower stationary orbit. Suppose the energy is given to the electron in the lower stationary orbit. This is the nucleus and this is first orbit and this is the second orbit. Initially an electron is in the first orbit. So when the energy is given to this electron in the form of electromagnetic radiation, and this electron will be jumps from the first orbit to second orbit. And here the energy absorbed by the electron present in the first orbit that is equal to the difference in energies of these two orbits. Okay, ಈ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ಏನು ಎನರ್ಜಿನ ಅಬ್ಸಾರ್ಬ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ನೋಡ್ರಿ, ಆ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಇವೆರಡು ಎನರ್ಜಿದು ಡಿಫ್ರೆನ್ಸಿಗೆ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೇಕು. ಓಕೆ, ಸಪೋಸ್ E1 to E3 ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ಟು ಥರ್ಡ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ಜಂಪ್ ಆಗಬೇಕಾಯ್ತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ the energy absorbed by the electron present in the first orbit must be equal to E3 minus of E1. ಎದಕ್ಕೆ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೇಕ್ರಿ? E3 minus of E1. Okay, but here the electron jumps from first orbit to second orbit, means the energy absorbed by this electron must be equal to E2 minus of E1. Then here same, E is equal to E2 minus of E1. Then it is the energy absorbed by the electron present in the lower orbit. So here the lower orbit is nothing but first orbit. Okay, then higher orbit is nothing but second orbit in the example. Then electron jumps from first orbit to second orbit. So when the electron absorbs the energy that is equal to E2 minus of E1, that electron jumps from the ground orbit to higher orbit, means first orbit to second orbit. Okay, then the energy absorbed by the electron is equal to h into nu, because it is the energy of the incident radiation, that is E equal to h into nu. E is equal to h into nu, that is equal to E2 minus of E1. So this is about fourth postulate, and it is also called Bohr's frequency condition. This fourth postulate of the Bohr's atom is called Bohr's frequency condition. Bohr's frequency condition means the frequency of the emitted radiation or the frequency of the incident radiation on the electron. So that depends on the difference in energies of two orbits. Okay, that is nu is equal to E2 minus of E1 divided by h. Then it is called Bohr's frequency condition. You know, ಒಂದು ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ಹೈಯರ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ಲಿಂದ ಲೋವರ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ಬಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ರೇಡಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ರೀ. ಯಾವ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ? ಇನ್ ದಿ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಫ್ ರೇಡಿಯೇಷನ್. ಆ ರೇಡಿಯೇಷನ್ ಫ್ರೀಕ್ವೆನ್ಸಿ ಹೆಂಗ್ ಫೈಂಡ್ ಔಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ನ್ಯೂ ಇಸ್ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಟು E2 ಮೈನಸ್ ಆಫ್ E1 ಡಿವೈಡೆಡ್ ಬೈ h. ಅದೇ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ಲೋವರ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ನಾಗ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಅದು ಹೈಯರ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ಜಂಪ್ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ಒಂದು ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು. ಆ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಯಾವ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು? ದಟ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಗಿವನ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಫ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರೋಮ್ಯಾಗ್ನೆಟಿಕ್ ರೇಡಿಯೇಷನ್. ಆ ಎನರ್ಜಿಯನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರ್ತೀವಲ್ರಿ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ಗೆ, ಆ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರೋಮ್ಯಾಗ್ನೆಟಿಕ್ ರೇಡಿಯೇಷನ್ ಫ್ರೀಕ್ವೆನ್ಸಿ ಏನಾಗಿರ್ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಅಗೇನ್ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನ್ಯೂ ಇಸ್ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಟು E2 minus of E1 divided by h. Okay, so this is about the fourth postulate of the Bohr's atomic